This episode of the School Zone podcast is brought to you by School Spirit Vending, hassle-free year-round fundraising for your school. At School Spirit Vending, we do all the work. You cash the check.
This interview was recorded live at the 2016 Texas PTA Conference in San Antonio, Texas. Now, here's Matt.
Hey, School Zone podcast listeners, Matt coming at you from San Antonio, Texas PTA Summer Leadership Seminar. I'm here with Mr. George Blasing of the Dinosaur George Company. I've been coming to these events for about the last 8 years or so, and Dinosaur George is always here and has pretty much the biggest space always because the dinosaurs are big just in general. So, George, thanks for taking a minute away from your table to come on by. And just tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, I was one of those kids that loved dinosaurs, and I never grew out of my love of dinosaurs. And as I got older, I started traveling and excavating pretty much all over North America. And I started growing a collection, and this collection grew and became pretty extensive, pieces from literally all over. And it was not my career choice, it was just a love. And one afternoon, I get a knock on my door. On a Sunday afternoon, I get a knock on my door, and there's this man and his wife. Their car had broken down, and they saw my car in the parking in my driveway, so came to me to see if I could give them a jump start. And when I opened the door, the woman looked in my house and almost died because I had a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull sitting in my living room. Heck of a centerpiece. So she sees it and goes nuts, and she said, I'm a science teacher, and I teach at a very small, low-income inner-city school, and she said, nobody comes to our school. The police and the firemen do presentations, but she said, I can't get other people to give some time, and she said, my kids would love it if they could see maybe one or two bones and kind of describe what you do. So I took a day off from work, and I gathered up some pieces, and I went, and I had the time of my life. And these kids had never seen a dinosaur bone in their life. So I went home, and it was great. I was excited. I had a great time, but I was going to go back. I was an executive in a big retail chain, so I had hundreds of stores under my direction, and I had a full-time career. And about 3 days later, I get a letter from the mom of one of the kids that was there. And the lady said, my oldest son is in prison. My middle son was shot and killed during an armed robbery, and all I have left is my baby. And my baby has told me he's dropping out of school. He's going to follow in his brother's footsteps. And she said, he came home today after your presentation and said, I want to be a dinosaur man. I want to do good in school. Even said he wanted to go to the library, and he checked out 5 books on dinosaurs. And so for me, it was you hear about those life-changing moments, and oftentimes it's when you get caught doing something you shouldn't and you claim to have changed your life. But for me, it truly was like a door opened. And I thought, if I gave 45 minutes of my time and one kid was impacted positively by it, then that's what I needed to do. So I quit my 18-year career, and I opened up a company, the Dinosaur George Company, and now I travel nonstop, and I've seen well over 3 million kids. And I speak mostly elementary schools, and that's what I do. And I teach kids about prehistoric life, what used to live, and wherever they live, what was there. And it's the greatest thrill I've ever had. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Well, it's been 18 years that I've been doing this. So 18 years ago is when I did it, and it was just one of those things, you know. It's something I felt I needed to do, and the rewards, you should see the looks on these kids' faces, especially in small communities where they've never been to a museum. I've had children cry because they can't believe they've seen a bone from an animal that they thought the world of. It's rewarding, and it's fun.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. In our company, School Spirit Vending, you know, one of the big blockbuster movies last summer was the new Jurassic World, right? Well, so we had a sticker series of Jurassic World, and the boys absolutely went nuts over it. We couldn't keep it in our machines.
Right.
And we still have people requesting now, even though the movie's a
Right.
memory,
Right.
having dinosaur stickers, because the boys just go nuts over them.
If I would have seen those, I would have bought them all. So the kids wouldn't have had a chance. In fact, I may have been the one that bought them all. You may not have sold one to a kid, but I know I bought a bunch.
That is so cool. So, okay, so let's get off topic. Not really off topic, but I'm curious. Have we figured out yet for sure what happened to the dinosaurs?
Well, taking all the best technology that exists and now we take into consideration chemistry and all these different things, based on everything, what it appears is it was affected by the impact of the asteroid that occurred, a really big impact. And sometimes when we say an asteroid, in most people's minds, they're thinking of just a rock. This asteroid was 35,000 feet tall. It is the size of Mount Everest. So the impact occurred, it struck in the Yucatan Peninsula. And the crater was so wide, it's 180 miles across. The crater was so big, it never made sense to anybody that it was a crater until NASA was taking photographs from space and they picked up this gigantic ring, which obviously was an impact. So imagine layers of dirt are like pages in a book. Each page represents a different time. So imagine on page 100, there were dinosaurs living. Well, then on page 99, that's closer to today, there's still dinosaurs in 98, 97. All of a sudden on page 96, there's not a single dinosaur bone from that point above. So you can say, okay, that is a moment in time that something occurred. So on that page, it just happens to be an accumulation of a very rare mineral called iridium. Iridium is rare on the Earth's surface, but it's common in asteroids. Well, there is a thin layer of iridium that blankets the Earth. No matter where you go on the planet, you can find that layer if you get down to page, whatever I said, 96. And of course, I'm just using a page as an analogy. So then you say, well, if all dinosaur bones stopped, and right above that layer is that layer of mineral, how did it get deposited there? And what did it do that caused all the dinosaurs to die? And so along with that, we also find incredible amounts of ash. And by measuring the thickness of the ash, scientists are able to understand how much burning material would it take to make a layer that thick to encompass the Earth. Basically, the entire biomass of Earth was burning at one time. Every plant on planet Earth was on fire because when something 30,000 feet tall enters the atmosphere, it's generating an unimaginable amount of heat, and it's spontaneously combusting plants all over the planet. Then it hits. So you have, first of all, everything's catching on fire before it even touches the ground. Then this thing strikes the Earth, and when it does, it sends a plume of dust and ash and debris thousands of feet into the air. And that debris drifts on the airstreams, and it's slowly dropping down to Earth. It is blocking out the sun because it's so thick. The entire ecosystems on Earth suffered. It got incredibly hot, unbelievably hot, and that may have been followed immediately by incredible cold. So all of those things combined leave evidence in the ground for us to see. So then you go, something big happened, a bomb happened, we found the asteroid where it happened, we know what happened, there's not a bone above that moment. So that then suggests dinosaurs died because the entire ecosystem dramatically changed, and for whatever reason they couldn't take it. Yet crocodiles, mice, snakes, lizards, those animals are living at the same time. They are able to apparently either go underground, survive long enough to come back up and find that the Earth is starting to recover, and maybe that's a matter of months. But the Earth starts to recover, life is back again, only the dinosaurs are gone.
Wow. That's cool.
It is.
That is cool.
It is, especially when you look at the other thing that happened. of all the places on planet for that asteroid to hit, it picked truly the worst place, because where it hit in the ocean. So there's two different types of rock, one on top of the other. Alone, they're no problem at all. But when you mix heat and water to those two rocks, they become hydrogen sulfide. Well, those are the layer of rocks that were in the spot where the asteroid hit. And when an asteroid 35,000 feet tall is coming in at the speed of sound and it hits the Earth, that creates heat, and it was in the water. So what happened was, when I said the ash went up into the atmosphere, so did sulfur dioxide. So now we have acid rain raining down all over the planet, making it even worse. So everything about that thing was spectacular. It was amazing. And yet some life continued on, and here we are.
So talk a little bit more about the types of programs you have the ability to offer to schools.
Well, what I do is basically two things. I do assemblies. The assemblies are where we bring in half of the student body, say second through kindergarten kids come in for one show. And what I do is I come in with a couple of 6-foot-long tables with bones and teeth and claws and skulls, mostly things that are indigenous to the area where I'm speaking. So I take the kids basically on a journey of, how do we know where to look? How do we find them? Then here are some of the examples of what lived here. What is a dinosaur? What isn't a dinosaur? What makes a dinosaur a dinosaur? And so the kids are looking at teeth and bones and skulls of some of the most fascinating animals, not just dinosaurs, but some of the mammals that existed after the age of dinosaurs. Like, for instance, most people don't know the biggest land mammal that ever lived was a giant rhinoceros. A rhinoceros that was 25 feet tall. And that's something, so those are the things I talk about. Now, I do a very basic one called the Discovery Package, and that's very, very affordable. It's like $550, and that includes 2 shows, but every student in the entire school sees it. So they see something very affordably, no matter the size of the school. That's a very affordable thing. Then I offer a second level, which is basically the same thing, but I bring in a 12-foot tall screen with a very powerful projector. While I'm speaking about animals, now the kids are seeing the image of the animal behind me so that they better understand what they're looking at. Like, if I showed you the skull of a giant prehistoric pig, in your mind, you would try to make it fit your version of what a pig looks like. But to see the image of it, it's dramatically different. It doesn't look anything like a pig, although it is. So that package is $1,000, but it also includes 2 shows for the entire student body, younger grade and older. When I speak to the younger kids, they get more entertainment. The older kids get more education, but it's always funny. It's always fast. It keeps people interested. Even if they're not interested in dinosaurs, they basically find something to ooh and ah about. And then I do a traveling museum, which is the latest thing that we've done. This is enormous. Our traveling museum, we arrive a day before. We actually turn a gym into a full-blown natural history museum. It is the biggest traveling museum of its kind in the world. It's enormous. And that is then the kids come through all day by grade level. And they come through and they see hundreds and hundreds of enormous... I have a set of megalodon shark jaws that are 7.5 feet tall. Most kids will never see that in their life. And so those are kind of the 3 things that we do.
Wow, that's cool. So how big an area do you have the ability to serve?
Well, like for the museum, like where I do any of my shows, I travel all over the country, but I mostly focus in Texas. Texas is such a big state that, I can't see all the schools in my lifetime here. But I've done shows in Florida, North Carolina, Canada. I speak in Canada a lot. I do shows in all over Texas, from the valley to the Arkansas border to Beaumont to El Paso. We're going to look to start advertising into Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Colorado, and probably Arizona. I suspect I'll start focusing on those probably in another year or so, but that will be with the museum. My hope is to begin touring with the museum so that when we get on the road, we're not just driving from San Antonio to Oklahoma and back. We're going from San Antonio to Dallas to Oklahoma to Amarillo to Lubbock to New Mexico, that sort of thing. That's the ultimate plans.
So are you one of the TSA's favorite people when you travel?
Let me tell you, somebody asked me once, they said, you ought to run for office. I said, look, I can't run for public office. I actually have skeletons in my closet. But yeah, when I travel, I will tell you that when I go to check in, I have to ask to see a TSA member to say, here's what is in my bags. Because if you scanned it, you would just see these spikes and horrific, it almost looks like some sort of medieval weaponry. And you have to explain, this is what this is. And I do that at airports. That's what I do when I check in. But what's funny now is if they recognize me, they like all come running to see they're like little kids, what do you have this time? And, my underwear. Oh, go. So
That's awesome. So how, aside from the traveling museum and that, do you have any programs or anything, video, that type of thing that allows you to scale what you do even larger?
That is the thing I'm focused on now. Truly is. I'm trying to figure out what is the right way to reach more people without having to leave. What I envision doing one day is finding a facility, setting up a podcast facility like yours. Yours is amazing, and this is your portable one. It's not even your big one. But setting up something like that and setting up video cameras and offering shows where somebody in Iowa can be sitting in the classroom and I'm in San Antonio, but I am literally taking them through the museum. I can tell you all day long about how big Tyrannosaurus Rex is, but if I'm standing next to the skull of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and I'm explaining how come his teeth are shaped like that, which hole in the skull is the eye, how do we know he had good vision? Those things I want to be able to do, but do it via, video, live video, podcast. Those are the things I'm trying to do. My biggest challenge is I know nothing about it. I've got to find that's somebody that I could partner with that would be able to say, look, we can do this and we can figure out a way to do it. I've got all the knowledge about what I do and I've got the ability to communicate it, but I don't have the ability to know how to turn this microphone on.
Right.
So, had you not turned on my mic, I would be talking to you and nobody would hear anything. So that's, I think, the future of everything. That's why I like what you're doing. I think you've discovered the missing link that I would think presenters would start to come to the realization that there may be a child listening right now on their phone riding the bus home from school who could get an education about something through his earphones. And yet I may never see that child. I may never get a chance to see them, but they could still learn something. So I think that's the future of where it's going. And I've got to figure out how to bring the past into the future and share it with people worldwide versus where I can drive and who I get to next.
That's cool. Yeah, there's so many tools today, George, that I think, you talk back to that very first story, right? That child,
right,
that you changed the direction of his life.
Right.
And so from my perspective, it's not just about how do I grow a business. It's about how do I have a bigger impact?
Yeah.
How do I maximize my time on this planet to the fullest to make sure I'm impacting as many kids as I possibly can?
That's it.
And
that's what we leave. When we're gone, what we've left is who we've touched.
Right.
And my age group, my era, touching meant physically seeing them. But modern times, touching somebody now is as simple as a voice coming across the air, no matter where they are. I could see very successfully having people translate it into different languages and do the exact same thing. And you're right. If it's only monetary, then sell jewelry and make a profit. But if it's about sharing your hope to impact somebody, that's what I'm trying to do. I need to figure out how to do it on a grander scale. Because right now we have a giant trailer, we load everything in and we go, and it's great to see it. But again, I'm limited to how many people I can see.
Anything else you want to share with the audience? This has been awesome, man.
I probably one of the funniest things, I get people all the time that ask me what happens when I see kids. What are some of the stories with kids, which are great. Everyone calls me Dinosaur George. I've been called that for 18 years. Some kid gave me that name and it stuck. So one day I was at a school and a little girl walked up to me, tiny little girl, and she stopped and she said, "Are you Dinosaur George?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Do you have a tail?" She thought I was half dinosaur. But I just heard one the other day. I laughed so hard. There was a tiny little boy with a box of dinosaurs. And I was speaking at a library up near Dallas, and this little boy brought his dinosaurs, and he wanted me to tell him who the dinosaurs were. And he was real tiny, and he would hold up one, and I would say the name, and then he would try to repeat it. And he did pretty good. But we got to this dinosaur called Giganotosaurus, and I said, "That's Giganotosaurus." And he said, "Chicken Bonosaurus." So I didn't correct him. I just died. But I see some of the greatest things. I experience some of the greatest things. I see kids who are stunned at what these animals look like. And I guess going back to the very beginning, what got me into it, it's when I was a kid, I loved them. And my fondest memory was Christmas morning one year. I'm wearing the full-size pajamas, the little onesies with the feet in them. Christmas morning, I wake up and I know there's toys under that tree, and I hit the ground running, but I'm running so fast that my little jammy feet wouldn't grab, so I'm spinning in place. When I finally got enough friction to start moving forward, my poor brother was in front of me, and I ran over him like he wasn't there. And I'm running in towards the living room, and the next victim is my younger sister. She's standing there, and I grab her and throw her out of the way, and I go running into the room and slide up under the tree. And if it has my name on it, I rip the box open. If it doesn't, I'm throwing the box out of the way. I look like the Tasmanian devil. Pieces of, wrapping paper flying through the air. And by the time it was done, laid out in front of me, there were dinosaur toys and dinosaur puzzles, dinosaur books, dinosaur jammies. And I looked at my mom and I said, "This is the greatest day of my life." And my mom looked at me and said, "George, you're 27 years old."
Oh, man, George, it's been a treat, man.
Hey, I've enjoyed it a lot.
This is awesome. So give people a way that they can get in touch with you.
DinosaurGeorge.com. The easiest way, all of our toll-free numbers are on there. All the information is there. Everything I do is there. My calendar is there if they want to come see me. Everything is there. So it's Dinosaur George, DinosaurGeorge, DinosaurGeorge.com.
That's dinosaurgeorge.com, guys. Mr. George Blasing, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to hop on here. I'm excited about publishing this episode and sharing what you're doing with more schools out there.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it. There's people that will have been introduced to me who have never heard of me before because of the things you're doing. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, well, thanks, man.
You bet.
Have a great rest of the weekend.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this interview that was recorded live at the 2016 Texas PTA Conference in San Antonio, Texas. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would be honored if you would leave a 5-star rating and review and hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. Most teachers and administrators not only want their kids to have developed minds, but opportunities to develop creativity, positive human values, and a sense of personal excellence. But your budget doesn't allow for all of it. You need fundraising. At School Spirit Vending, we are helping a growing number of elementary schools fundraise the easy way, and we do all the work. We provide the sticker vending machine, free customized school logo stickers, licensed and non-licensed stickers like NFL and Disney, as well as tons of other fun stickers that are relevant to kids. The best part? School Spirit Vending is free. No upfront expenses for schools at all. A percentage of machine revenue goes directly to the school, PTA, or PTO each month. And did I say customized stickers? Our skilled graphics team can help custom design your school spirit stickers. You just tell us what you want. The only thing you do is provide us a busy hallway or commons area. Oh, and you'll have to find the time to cash a monthly check. It doesn't get any easier than that. 2,000 elementary schools can't be wrong. To see for yourself how easy year-round, hassle-free fundraising can be, go to schoolspiritvending.com/schoolzone.